I don't know if we could yeah, potentially we could do that if everybody shared the notes because they're going to go over to like Brian's is going to see his, and so I'm not sure, to be honest.
Yeah, okay, well, if we think of it.
All right, let me see here. Let me get over to this. Go back here, share my screen. All right, let's make this bigger so everybody can see it. I don't know how to zoom. Where's my?
Control plus scroll up and scroll down.
All right, so let's quickly go over what we were doing. Let me grab this. Today is Steve's birthday.
Well, happy
Happy,
birthday, Steve.
Happy birthday, Steve. We
Yeah,
want
happy
party.
birthday.
is Steve on this call right now?
Okay.
Yes, he is. He is on as the host and he's recording, but it looks like he is
I'll send
not.
you a cake.
Aw, sweet. So last our last meeting, we went through Hacktoberfest. Um, again, Hacktoberfest is upon us. If you want to try to get badges, you really should try to get one pull request a week. That's the easiest way to do it in my experience. Jean got, we still, did you get, hey, look who's here. So nice to see
Yeah,
you. Gosh. What a pleasant surprise for Steve's birthday.
I don't see Steve here.
He's only in he's here in Steve's working on a project for Los Alamos, building out basically a zero trust policy program that is a POC that they're doing. So he's
Mhm.
going to have a lot of feedback in terms of the kinds of uh, reports and metrics that the government, at least Los Alamos is the Department of Energy, what they're going to be asking for in terms of our front page, which I'm pretty excited about. So it's a really, really good project for them to kind of see into the process. They haven't taken on Ortelius yet, but we hope remains eternal, right? They are looking for something to centralize data, and that has been a discussion I keep hearing. In fact, I was on I do the Tech Strong Gang on, it's airing today. I've recorded on Fridays, and they were talking about what's going to happen in DevSecOps. And pretty much all the analysts said one of the biggest problems that we have in DevSecOps is fragmented data, and centralizing the data will be essential. And I mention that
Yeah.
because I want to point out that we're here, right? We have been thinking
Yeah.
about this now for what, 4 years, 3 years? We've been working on it. But now people are starting to understand what we're doing, and they're starting to look for tools that are doing it. In our last meeting, we talked about reaching out. This is the ideal time to start building adoption and reaching out to the Jenkins community to do that, and pulling in the Jenkins uh, administrators to understand why they would need to do that. Arvind has raised his hand and said he will work on a Jenkins plugin. If there's anybody here that has experience with Jenkins plugins and would be willing to help Arvind, that would be great. I believe Steve has got some pull requests out there that can apply to Hacktoberfest. And if you have something you want to apply to a Hacktoberfest, even if it's documentation, we just have
Mhm.
to tag it Hacktoberfest. It doesn't have to be pre-tagged. You have to tag it when you submit it. So we have some opportunities here. There's a couple of other things that we really need to work on too that could be part of Hacktoberfest. But I really want to emphasize in terms of outreach how important it is right now that people learn about what we've been doing at Ortelius, because there is starting to be talk about, what's going to be new in 2025. And most of the security people say dashboards. and pulling in the data to a central location. So we're in a really good spot. Arvind, is there anything you want to talk about in terms of what you have maybe worked on or?
No, we didn't have that much progress so far. With the help of Sasa, he created the Docker image for the Ortelius. So now we have Docker set up for Ortelius. So it's easy, but I haven't started working on it yet.
Okay, no worries. Absolutely no worries. But try not to wait to the last minute, the last part of the last part of October to try to get your pull request in. If you can start working on them earlier, it makes it easier. All right. So that Jenkins plugin is going to be pretty important. And the reason why the Jenkins plugin is going to be important is because we want to start serving the dashboard data, at least for components, to the Jenkins community. So every time a workflow is pushed through, they would have in their Jenkins dashboard the Ortelius data, for example, for vulnerabilities, for the SBOM, the vulnerabilities found at that moment, the OpenSSF scorecard, for example. Those would be amazing just to have a plugin that showed that basic data.
Do we
Yes?
have any kind of documentation, like architectural diagram, like how we are going to do that?
We've not done any of that, Utkarsh. We really have not. And I'm not sure what the architecture group is doing on this topic, because I know they have their things that they want done. Now Outreach is asking for, I am asking for a Jenkins plugin. But I believe it could be something pretty simple. Utkarsh, would you give Arvind some direction on how to at least start a kind of just a basic summary of what that architecture would look like for the plugin? Because I think Arvind would probably do it. He just needs a little direction.
Yeah, I'll sync up with Arvind and Sasha. I
Okay.
don't have context like what's going on right now, so I'll
Yeah,
have to
and there is so there's a whole website on Jenkins plugins, and there are literally thousands of them. There's so many, but there should be some there should be good information out here on how to build it. So we have APIs that allow you to get to the data. We just need to build a plugin that will display it.
Tracy, I had the meeting with Steve last time, and he told me like we don't need a plugin actually if we are able to show the HTML page in the Jenkins logs. Then we can, from the build URL, we can grab the data from the Ortelius and we can show it in the form of an HTML page.
That's a true statement.
So
Yeah,
what we need to make sure is that whatever we do, we meet these requirements. So you become part of the Jenkins plugin community. Otherwise,
And
nobody will find us.
we haven't deployed a plugin, but it was 5 years old and it was depreciated. So if you search for deploy hub,
And
we
it's
find the
really,
plugin for Ortelius.
yeah, and it's not going to be the kind of data that we want to display. It's going to be that plugin is going to have more deployment data in it as it would vulnerability data, but it should be a good start. But we really do need to meet whatever requirements that the Jenkins community has for their plugins, so we can add our plugin to this website, because we need to have the credentials, right? People need to find us here.
Yes.
However we write it, whatever it's considered, we need to be able to publish it in this, and it needs to follow the same steps. Now, noted, before Kosuke left CloudBees, he wrote a pretty scathing but honest blog on the problem of plugins. Because every time if Jenkins changes at all the plugins might be out of date, because Jenkins didn't always stay backward compatible to every plugin that was ever written, which has caused a lot of problems in the plugin world, but it's still the primary way people integrate into the Jenkins platform. So following the plugin guidelines, whatever the requirements are, will be something we will have to do to get published in this in this website. That is why I have been such a evangelist for CD events, because the plugins then would go away, and instead you'd have a listener and you would just define what your payload was. And we have not gotten enough excitement around the CD events to believe that that's going to happen. So we're going to have to build a plugin, an official plugin that we can be added to this particular site. So I'll make sure that that's in the notes. We must comply to the Jenkins plugin standards. And I'm sure Mark Waite would be happy to point us to somebody if we need help with doing this, but I doubt if we do. There's so many out there. I can't imagine they don't have plenty of tutorials and documentation on how to do it. So I'll try to, on Thursday, we have the architecture meeting. I usually have another meeting with the OpenSSF, but I'll try to, I'll blow the OpenSSF off this Thursday and try to be on that architecture call to talk about the plugin requirements that we need for outreach. Joe, does everybody kind of understand where I'm going with getting it into the Jenkins plugin platform, right? Just so we have a central place that people can find us. Otherwise, they don't know about us.
Yeah, it will be like a major step when you start popping our name there on the dashboard.
Yeah, I think so too.
Like the Google of plugins.
So here is like CrowdStrike has one. This is all the plugins that come up when you say vulnerabilities. We should be in here. Red Hat's dependency analysis. There's, you know, if we're serious about reaching out to this community, Ortelius should be here.
But isn't it, aren't we trying to, I mean, like the CCV, you know, the Common Vulnerability Scoring System, CVSS, aren't we trying to get the vulnerabilities from there in, I mean, and I understand that at the end of the day, we need to connect it with Jenkins, but, and they do have Tracy CD events in Jenkins. Did you see that? Like if you
there are, but there are standards, and there are some tools that have tried to comply with it, but the problem is not everybody's doing it. That those CD events that they have out there, and I know that they were pushing it for a time, were created by, I believe it was Lockheed Martin, and they have written their own listener. And back in April, they had we had reached out to see if they would give us their listener, and they said it was pretty highly customized, and they would look to see if they could make it more commercialized. The goal would be for the CD Foundation to be able to get some funding for the Jenkins community to work on it.
Yeah, because that's one of the biggest nightmares that we've been dealing with for over a decade is, you know, is legacy systems and, you know, backwards compatibility.
I know.
Anyway, I know we're not trying to solve that today, but all right.
Yeah. So if we go over here, we do. So here's the CD events.
Yeah, it looks like.
So it's out there. It's out there. And, you know, maybe we build it around this, but not everybody would, you know, I'm not sure how it works and how easy it is for anybody to use. So we might want to investigate it, right?
And and I'll be happy to investigate it, because I hate doing something. I hate that we don't advance. It's something that kills me.
I know, me too. I'm with you. I am so frustrated by it.
Yeah, and sometimes I feel like we have to almost push people in that direction, whether we and you know, just be an advocate. You know, at the end of the day, nobody listens, but hey, you know, so, but
Kate, I think it's a great idea. I think you're spot on about it.
all right, I will look that up. I will investigate that and not only bring it to the architecture meeting, but I'm meeting with Arvin tomorrow, and maybe Arvin, you and I can even talk about it a little bit tomorrow. Yeah.
It's on Wednesday. We are meeting on Wednesday.
Oh, I'm sorry, Wednesday.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Wednesday. That's good.
Siam is not here, so I don't know what the status is of he was here on this call, right? He was. I'm going to put him out here. I don't know what the status is on reaching out to Mark and doing a joint call for, or do you add this as part of the CDF workshops? But you know, Kate, now that you mention this, we would probably, if we built a plugin around their CD events, and I don't know how it works, and I don't know how easy it would be for other people to implement it. But if we were to do something like that, we probably would get more attention on it.
I think it's a, you know,
because if we were bringing in, the fact that we're pushing OpenSSF data to Jenkins and using CD events, I think it would broaden the community who wants to look at it.
absolutely. You know, we can't keep doing the same thing over and over. I mean, we're losing.
Well, that is the definition of being crazy, right?
Yes. And I would say that the whole cyber community is a bit nuts. So
yeah,
I can say that. I'm sorry for using those.
I
don't know what to say.
Well, I think it's a great. So Arvin, we will leave you to you know kind of lead this charge. Kate, if you could look at it, and Utkarsh, if you could give some mentorship. I know you're crazy busy. I can't imagine you taking on anything else. I appreciate you being here.
I believe in advancing stuff. I can't keep doing something over and over again. Like that kills me. It doesn't literally, but crushes my spirit. How about that?
And Utkarsh, what is your schedule looking like these days with going to school and doing and working?
So actually the research project that I was working on, basically there is this company Hawaii, they wanted to investigate more into that. So spending quite some time on, you know, publishing the paper, and probably they have some, you know, business use cases that they want to sponsor later onwards. So yeah, that's one thing, and the other one is my day job.
Yes, and school.
That got over. Yeah, I
Oh,
completed.
you're done. You're done. Well,
Oh,
congratulations. Yes, that's pretty exciting. So, you're not in Oxford anymore, or are you staying there?
No. So I came to London because, like, anyway, I was in London, so I came back to London and will be staying here for a while.
Cool. Right. Okay. Well, now I know I don't feel so guilty if you don't have a master's program you're working on. I don't feel so guilty in asking you to do a little mentorship with Arvin. As you know, Arvin, you point him in the right direction, and he's like Pac-Man. He just eats those bubbles right away. So we can't like to keep him busy. And
Yes.
I think this should be this solving this problem is going to be our first effort to really do outreach around the Jenkins community. And I'm making this a focus more even than talking about what are we going to do if we're going to do a Christmas holiday, because we can do something super simple for Christmas. Because I really think this has got to be our most important way of doing outreach, because then we can show off the plugin. We can show how Jenkins is getting, you know, real-time vulnerabilities produced for every component. And we would have links to any potential application that's impacted by that component. So we could put the blast radius information in there. We could put the Jenkins or the OpenSSF scorecard and all of the vulnerabilities right into their Jenkins workflow and show it real time. If they ever open that up again, as soon as they open it up, they're going to see all the new vulnerabilities. And then we could potentially use the Jenkins notifier if new vulnerabilities were to show up. So there's a lot of work we can do in that area. Let me just talk for a minute about the bad side, though. You know, Jenkins used to be about 50% of the CI/CD market. I don't know where it stands today. And I don't know if Jenkins is a technology that's slowly dying and things like GitHub Actions are taking over, which is sort of what I suspect. There also is the commercial market. I think that both GitLab and Harness has taken over some of the Jenkins business. So even what I would call the CloudBees Jenkins, which is supported Jenkins, I don't think CloudBees is selling Jenkins support like crazy. However, there are still a large number of Jenkins users in this world, and I feel like serving them first is the best place to start. If we can do it well with Jenkins, I suspect that we can figure out a way to provide something similar to GitLab and potentially to Harness. But right now, I feel like because we're part of the CD Foundation, we're planning on staying there, we should support Jenkins first. So those are just my thoughts, and I hope all of you continue to think about that to figure out where we may want to push Ortelius next, which community. We talked about GitLab. Sasha even pointed out how hard GitLab was to do any real integration to. And I've never looked at Harness. But let's keep those on the roadmap for us in terms of outreach, but not get sidetracked now, and let's make sure we have provided Jenkins what it needs to be part of a DevSecOps model, because I believe that will help.
Yeah, this says to me, Tracy, that we have to really think about the architecture, and specifically, if we build something for Jenkins, have we built it in a way that makes it easy to pick up the next tool?
Agreed.
I'll tell you, there's
Agreed.
something here. I just did Googled GitHub and CD events, and something comes up with Jenkins and CD events plugin.
Yeah, that should be there. That should be past. There should be a link to that somewhere around here.
It's really, I think it would be pretty easy to make things to have that interoperability.
Well, let's hope it is. And I think it's a great way to pull those two worlds together and to show people that we are looking, because there may be a plugin for CD events, but if there's no listener for it, I don't know how it works.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what this is doing. We're gonna have to look into it and see if it makes sense.
It's interesting though, because I wonder if we can do the one, if we're going to be able to do the other pretty easily. That's interesting. All right. Well, Arvin, we're on Wednesday, which is not tomorrow.
Yes.
So on that, let's go ahead and move forward here. On that Christmas holiday note, what do you think we should do?
Let's do an international trip. We all can go somewhere and meet together.
God, Arvin, that would be awesome. We're all going to meet in Roswell, New Mexico, where they have aliens everywhere. With that, and we could go to the skyport out there. It would be a really fun, a user experience. Let's hope someday that can happen.
And we watch Steve eat the birthday cake I posted in the Discord channel.
Yes.
See if he can finish it.
I say that, I feel like we should do I think we should do our beer and donuts, because it's always fun, and do any awards. And then I would really like to do the rest of it as training. I think that there is an opportunity to make sure everybody is kind of on board, and I don't know what that training needs to be. some of the topics I've thought about is just getting a GitHub, getting your Git and local environment set up for doing pull request and development. We could have Sasha go over one of his what I called platform engineering training in my last post. Sasha, I posted out for the next 3 weeks. We'll go through 1 through 7, and I call it platform engineering. So Sasha could potentially do a platform engineering tutorial and just pick 1 or 2 of those areas, or we could do a Jenkins Ortelius integration, which would mean that if we wanted to do it right, we would want to have a local, provide people with a way to do a local Jenkins integration, and then if we had our plugin, show how the plugin works to grab data from the SaaS version. So they wouldn't have to install Ortelius local. They just look at the online. So I think we should think about it. What training does make sense? We could do something as simple as vulnerability. Have everybody go through the something super simple would be have everybody go through the tutorial online and talk about it. And Jing, thank you so much for the work you did on. Jing went through the tutorial and made sure everything was looked right and spelled right. I am going to make some updates to that tutorial because when I wrote that tutorial, we hadn't exposed the OpenSSF data as well as we do now. So I will probably make some updates to that tutorial, and then I'll probably do some videos. But I really want it's October. So if we're going to do this, whoever's going to do that, maybe an hour of training needs to know that they're on the hook for it. But that's what I think we should do, as opposed to trying to get talks. Because we did a real, I think that our spring or our May 20th event, what did we call it? Secure Chain Con. I think we should continue doing that as our one big, our one big yearly kind of event that we can do, and keep Christmas easy and just make it kind of fun and a way for us all to get together and say, have a happy new year and go do something else for a month while we're all taking Christmas holiday. But I think that the training is something that we lack in general. We don't do enough of it. Any thoughts on the training, or for anybody who, Arvind, I'm going to pass this to you. What do you think that new people and people coming out of university systems or new to doing, work in an open source community, what do you think they would need?
I think they are looking for easy issues to work on. Like they are doing a lot of spammy PR for the Hacktoberfest and that kind of stuff. We need more like for Ortelius, we need more like how to understand it easily, or how to like one-to-one tutorial, like Steve working on any issues or doing an integration, that kind of stuff.
Well, let's really think through it. And we have, I think in our next call, even though I'm going to keep talking about the Jenkins plugin and see where we're at with that, on our next call, I think we should come up with an idea for doing kind of a workshop, kind of like Simon's been doing with the CDF, and what that workshop should be. And it could be something super, super simple. And as simple as it takes about 15 minutes to go through the tutorial on vulnerabilities, and I'm going to try to even get it shorter. So we could have everybody walk through, sign up, go through the sign up process, log in, look at Ortelius's vulnerabilities, see if there's any new ones today, and just see, so everybody understands what the platform looks like. That may be the easiest one. And maybe we do another, a 30-minute one on just how do you get this stuff set up, or what we think would be the best for new contributors.
Yeah, I think this is a great idea. Yeah.
Good. Anybody else have a thought on, just doing a training for December and not having talks? Is that a thumbs up for most of you?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea.
Yeah,
Good.
for sure.
Okay. So let's plan on doing that. We just have to find someone who's willing to, do an hour session on a topic, and it could be super easy. And I'm hoping it's not me or Steve, because we probably need to have other faces out there. So anything that, if we want to do this, we should really try to keep it as simple as possible, I think. Oops. And I think it depends on where we're at with the Jenkins plugin too, because if the Jenkins plugin was working, that would be amazing, right?
That'd be great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you just have to decide on the architecture there. Like, how do you want to do it?
I think it's all going to be, when you look at those CD events, is this something we should build around CD events? Or should we just do I guess what we'd call a standard plugin?
I
Yeah.
think we should take a look at the CD events. 'Cause
I
if
do
it's
too.
not- Before we put work into the old, let's see how much I think, how much work would it really take to advance this? And then really, I hate the word evangelize, but to go out and tell people,
Yeah. I think it makes sense just from bringing a broader community into the picture.
Mhm.
And it's always good to lead from the front, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's so hard to get into a place where everybody's already doing something to shine,
Yes. And the interesting thing about where we're at with Ortelius is that there really are not a lot of tools out there. And I look at these tools that are trying to take open source tooling around this software security problem that people can adopt fairly easily and bring the data into a central dashboard. Most of what we do in the open source world, the results are left in logs sitting underneath workflows.
And it's painful.
It's very painful. So if we can help the Jenkins community bring those logs forward and show them and make them useful, and they know
Right.
it's an Ortelius plugin, we will get more eyes on Ortelius and more adoption of Ortelius, because they're adopting Ortelius if they're simply tracking their own workflows, right? And most workflows, at least in a cloud native environment, represents one container, right? And a container could be a monolithic application, no doubt, but right now in decoupled architecture, a container is probably an API or a microservice. So we have an opportunity to help federate that data and show them how we're doing it, because it's not something that anybody else is taking on, and we have the product that's ready to move forward. I think that the work that Steve has done over the summer, and bringing all of the OpenSSF data and putting the vulnerabilities front and center has been super helpful for the front end and the dashboard. And if we then have a broader, and this is something I'm hoping Steve gets more insights. So there's some reports that I would suggest for doing what we need to do for that, a front end dashboard. So when you log into Ortelius, you would be given a dashboard on all of the components and applications that you are monitoring, that show the number of vulnerabilities, the risk level. And there's other types of data that's interesting. The NIST cybersecurity framework, they have, let me write these down in this document.
What about the NIST?
Okay, so I'll just say metrics and metadata for a main page of data. So this is what I'm talking about, like all of our graphs and stuff that you've been working on, Kate. So the NIST cybersecurity framework 2.0 is a good one to look at, because there's certain levels of information that they say that they're requiring. there's another one that just got published called X-Force Cloud Threat Landscape. This is
Yeah.
by IBM.
Right.
Then there is the one that I'm not a fan of, but everybody should know about. It's the secure software security framework. And if you read this, it feels a lot like JFrog and Sonatype. I don't really think there's a lot of new stuff in here, but it does say, hey, if you're not doing this already, you probably should. And then there's another one, and I can't recall the name of it, but these are three that we could be pulling information about what people want to see in a single dashboard that summarizes all of the security data from components and applications to an organizational level. So basically, this is metrics and metadata for a main page of data representing.
Before I would be in X-Force, and the reason I say that is because I helped with that tool, and they pulled in from the common vulnerability system scoring, which I think is super important. That's like one of the #1 things for cybersecurity is the CVSS.
Yeah, and we are using that to score the
From NIST.
if it's a high risk. Yeah, actually, he gets it from OSV Dev.
Okay. I mean, because there was a lot of them. That was one of the things that we tried to sell. Well,
so I think the one area that we've just never really nailed down is we know what the front end should be look like. And Kate, you've done some great work on it. Elizabeth, which we need to ping her. I will. Did some work on it. We've all really looked at what we want the front end to look like, how the graph should look, but we don't know. We haven't really pinned down the data. And as soon as we can pin down what data we want to put on that front page, I don't think it'll take Steve any time at all to put a new front end on there. And that could be something
MITRE.
that somebody else, MITRE, yeah.
MITRE, I would say, is probably one of the top ones.
Yeah, and Steve's been using MITRE Attack as well.
It's phenomenal. Everybody, like that has been like, it doesn't go away.
Right.
And it's even gone into industrial control systems, ICS. They even have a MITRE for ICS.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
Yeah. So anyway, that's one of the things that we, I think on the architecture side, we can work on it here on the outreach side to say, this is the data we want to see. And as I said, Steve's working right now with one of the teams at the DOE to figure out what it is that they want to see. And we can start bringing that information over. They don't even know for sure what they want to see. This is the weird puzzle, right? Because nobody's really looked at the problem from the standpoint of federating the data and what is the best information to bring forward. Now, there's competing tools that will show you data for every single component, but they seldom show you what you would see at what we like to call a domain level, right? Show me what my security profile looks like for my entire organization. Bring in all of the applications that we're just pushing out to our end users and give me an average score of that. How many high-risk vulnerabilities are there across all of my applications? That's the kind of data CISO officers would be asking for. What application has the most vulnerabilities? Which one is the most at risk? That's the kind of reporting we need to add to that front end. And I don't think we have a clear understanding of what we'd want to show people.
So I worked with the DOE, and they, so who's really important is the Idaho National Labs. Did they point you in that direction?
The Idaho National Labs?
Yeah.
Never even knew there was one.
And it's like, that's their go-to source.
Is there
some names.
Can we do,
I have to go back and
yeah.
look at the names. Yeah,
And
so,
who goes to this? MITRE?
DOE, the Department of
Oh,
Energy,
okay.
works, because you were just, so the Idaho National Labs has a whole thing around energy and vulnerabilities. They have a whole framework. I'm gonna have to look for that. Man, it's been way too long.
Yeah, if you could get more on that, that would be interesting.
Yeah.
The
so-
Idaho National Labs are probably where, Sandia looks at things like directed energy, and Los Alamos works on nuclear weapons. IRL works on grid and nuclear power. And as Kate's pointing out, including pretty well known for security aspects around the grid.
Like, that's who I work with, is them. And they're not fun to work with, just FYI. Yeah. They have no sense of humor.
So there's another thing that's happening, which we may be able to do some work on together between Deploy Hub and the open source community. I have spent the last see how white my hair got. It was because I was trying to get a cage code for Deploy Hub, which is a code that you need to go after funding opportunities. There is a new funding opportunity that is the submissions are due by April. That is about building secure ecosystems around open source. I have started taking a look at that, and now that Deploy Hub has got a proper cage code and we're properly set up to look for government grants, we potentially could go in and do something together on that. They often like to see joint projects, meaning government or meaning a private company and some kind of educational, like a university system, or potentially the Linux Foundation. We could represent the Ortelius community could be brought in as part of that, to get some funding. So what would happen is the Ortelius community would get some funding to do some work, and the Deploy Hub would get some funding to do other work. Basically, we'd finally Steve would get paid for some of the work he does, and we could potentially, bring some of the Ortelius. We could create bounties like we did for the blockchain work. So that's something that we might want to talk about too, because it's all about the stuff that you're talking about, Kate. It's all about, it is a DOE project, and it is around open source security. I will get more on it. I will report more on it and see if we have to, if the Linux Foundation could be one of our kind of nonprofit educational partners. We might need to find a university, though, which would mean I would probably go knock on the doors at UNM.
I wouldn't even mind knocking on some doors around here too, in Maine.
That would be great.
They have a big government. They're doing a lot with NOAA.
And basically, what we need to find is somebody. We need to find somebody who's working on a PhD who wants to help work on the research. And the research could be something, for example, like I talk a lot about rapid remediation, but I want to make sure that we understand when I say that what I mean. From an Ortelius perspective, we don't ever want to take Ortelius, at least I don't think, to the point where we're trying to do code fixes. What we want to be able to do with Ortelius is understand that a new open source package that repairs a vulnerability is available, and we would remediate the build and redeploy to all locations.
Yeah.
That may take some, I don't know, and Utkarsh, please tell me if, I don't know if that would require any kind of a machine learning workflow, or any other type of AI to build into it. But if we were to incorporate AI into that process and include that as our research POC, I believe we would have a pretty good chance of getting some kind of funding for that effort. Everybody wants to invest in AI right now.
Yeah, it's, I hate the word, not that it matters, but, the way that you're saying it, I would say is correct, and the reason being is, if I had a company, I wouldn't want something automatically correct from a, from a infrastructure standpoint, critical infrastructure. I would say no way to having something automatically corrected. So when you talk about rapid remediation, I like the definition that you're talking and how you're.
Yeah, we basically want to create a pull request and say we are going to remediate the build with the correct package, the new package that fixes the vulnerability, and then create a pull request so it can get pushed forward when they say, okay, we're ready for it.
I like that.
And we would create, we'd have to create a pull request for every single application that consumed it. So let's say you're a bank and Log4j came up, and you know that Log4j is running in every single one of your applications, and you know exactly where they're running because we're tracking it as part of Ortelius. Then we'd be able to go out and create multiple Git pull requests for all the teams who have started. Their Helm chart is actually using those packages. And we're tracking that. So it's impossible to do it today, but it is possible if somebody was using and pulling in both their SBOM data, the package information, and the deployment endpoints, so that we could provide that service, create the pull request for anybody who has consumed it.
Yeah.
I'll post the link now. Just check it out because Renovate does that.
Yes, Renovate it does at the time of build. So we can call Renovate to go do that for us already.
Yeah, so we could hook into that.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, nice.
And we use Renovate. Ortelius is using Renovate.
Yeah, I use it. It works really well.
So, getting some help on doing a POC with like the DOE would give us more insights on what they're working on, and we'd probably do it through something like it'd probably end up something where Los Alamos would be managing it. It's just a funding opportunity that we would go out for, and they're putting like $15 million into different POCs to solve the problem.
That's great.
And we are definitely going to, Deploy Hub's definitely going to go out after it. I just don't know. And I'm working with somebody who's done some work in this area. I just don't know if we can use the Linux Foundation or the CD Foundation to be our sort of our nonprofit educational partner, or if we need a university.
I mean, do you need a PhD person? Can you do like a technical school?
Wouldn't that be nice?
I mean,
I would love that, because then I would go out to like, there are plenty of technical schools and community colleges, by the way,
colleges, right,
that are delivering some really, really awesome programmers, right?
Right.
And I would hope that they would do that.
Tracy, Elizabeth was doing a PhD. I'm not sure she has completed or not.
I don't know the answer to that, so I will find out from this guy we're working with, Rob, what they really do look for in terms of who their partners are, and if you need one. I don't even know if we would need one, but I believe if we have one, it makes it a better chance for us to get funded.
Right.
But I will, we've got some time. We got 6 months to figure it out, and it's a focus I'm working on. I'm just glad and I've subscribed to the funding opportunity. So as soon as they start doing more stuff around it, I'll get more insight. But we would like to go out after some of those grants, and we finally are set up to do so. Took me almost a year. I don't know why, it just did. All right, everybody, we are almost an hour. Thank you all. And Utkarsh, it's fabulous to see you again. Thank you for being so supportive of this project. And for next 2 weeks, we got our biggest challenge here is let's figure out what we're going to do for Christmas and if we're going to do a training. I think the lowest hanging fruit would be walking through the tutorial, having everybody go through the sign-in process, because it all can be done then without, in the cloud, nobody has to have anything installed locally. I think my second favorite one is if this is out there, then we should show what we've done, if we've gotten this done, the Jenkins plugin. Then I think Sasha's platform engineering, Sasha, if we could pick one of those areas for you to do a walk through a tutorial, that would be a lot of fun. And then if we just feel like we want to cater to people who want to get their local environment set up, that we can do. And to do that, we do have, I think actually Utkarsh wrote a bunch of stuff in becoming a contributor. And we have, if we go out to the documentation, we have this contributor guide that really goes through just about everything. Sasha contributed to this. There's all kinds of work that we can, there's all kinds of information already out there that we could put a tutorial together for if this is what we want to do.
Mhm.
I think that running Java locally, yeah, it's pretty much everything you need to know. How to register to the groups. How-to tips. Making changes to documentation. There's a lot out here that has already been done. And we could take just one of these and go through it. There's even an Eclipse IDE setup, which is pretty impressive. So the community in the early days did a lot of work in this area, and maybe we might want to resurrect some of it. But I'll leave that up to everybody in 2 weeks. So let's just think about it. And if you have a new idea, please bring it and we'll just vote on one.
One question I maybe ask people to consider, are we assuming everybody that wants to participate with Ortelius is already solid on working with GitHub?
They are not. Absolutely not. That is something that's why I put it up there as my first thought, is get local environment set up, because I don't think, I mean, Git is not easy. I don't personally think Git is an easy tool to use.
It's not, for sure.
So even going through, creating an issue, submitting a pull request, that would be great training.
Maybe,
So that's why.
an overview of, here's what Git is. And, demystifying Git, I could see that being a useful tutorial. I'd like to attend it.
Yeah. Just do it that way then. I think that would be a really good one. Git is I use it within the Visual Studio plugin, but if I get stuck on it, I have broken it so many times. And Sasha and I, for a while, Steve was just like, God, between you and Sasha, I'm constantly fixing your Git issues.
Desktop support.
Yes.
That's funny.
But the
That's
worst
funny.
part about Git is you've got to break stuff to figure out how to use it.
I love it.
That's correct.
That's so funny.
So
Love
anyway,
it, Steve.
I would say, I think that's a really good one, because I am not assuming that anybody knows how to use Git.
I'm afraid I don't have Linus's phone number anymore.
Yeah. It'd be like, why'd you write? How is it that you got so many people to use this product? And the other thing that is interesting about Git is one of the reasons why Git became so popular was because of the way that it manages all those forks. But if you're now doing APIs and microservices and everything's decoupled, I don't think too many people are forking their own code constantly. So it's not necessarily useful anymore for what it does. I wish they could give me a dumbed down version of Git that just did pure check in, check out, check in, check out, and not overcomplicate the topic
Yeah, I was
with all the
just
forks.
looking at the mobile version. I think that would be really interesting. But
I don't know if I'd ever want to touch Git on my phone.
Oh, God.
I have a phone just to play with, now, and it's, I think, I don't know, I think I'm gonna try it just for fun.
Let us know how it goes.
I
Go
will.
do some documentation updates and see what it's like to post.
I will. I think that would
I
be
like that,
actually
Kate. You should write a blog, an Ortelius blog.
on
That would be
GitHub
so
on
cool.
Android.
Yeah, I'd read it totally.
Yeah, I will. I'll play with it.
Okay, we're in an hour. We will all chat in 2 weeks, and I'm looking forward to finding out what we decide on the training and see if we can get someone to step up to it. And, if we don't have anybody internal, maybe we can reach out to Simon and see if he's got somebody that's done a CDF workshop that might want to repeat it for us.
Yeah. Just
So,
one thing, back on the Git thing on your phone. That is not such a crazy idea. There's a lot of people in Africa who don't have access to full-on laptops and computers, and there's young people doing coding off their phones. They code from their phones.
Yeah.
So
that's crazy.
I've been seeing that. Like when I was on the plane, I had some kid next to me,
yeah,
and they
Yeah.
were like, they had 2 phones and they were like going at it. I was like, good for them.
yeah,
So
yeah. They code full-on applications on their phones. And they're
Yes.
That
committing
is
Git and stuff.
impressive.
it was
Yeah,
crazy. Yeah. So I'm gonna actually do that because
yeah, exactly. One
I'll let
day
you
I'll
guys
have
know how I
Ortelius
do in
running.
2 weeks.
If you can get Ortelius running on your phone, that'd be amazing. I'd love to see
Wouldn't
that.
it be cool? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
You should be able to go through the whole tutorial on your phone, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm gonna
They're
give it a shot
Yeah,
They're
that's a good
powerful enough.
idea.
just for fun, because what kind of adoption? I get shocked because I know some younger people. A lot of people younger than me, but I'm talking like teens and 20s, and they don't even have a laptop. I mean, they do everything from their stupid phones. And I'm like, I just think that's the way things are really going. So
Well, then I hope the phones get a little bigger.
Well, have you seen the Huawei? It's a trifold.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw that.
or
That's-
you could cast it to your screen, right? To a TV screen.
Yes, that's
Yeah,
why they're the only
absolutely
ones
can.
using it on their
Yeah,
phones,
that-
because they can still see so well when your eyesight starts going.
If I could,
As you
yeah,
get
if
older.
I need to have a real keyboard too, because I make I
Mm.
make so many. I guess the hackers would love that, right? Making the common typos when you're on your phone. You wouldn't even see it.
Huh. That's very interesting. I think that's an interesting thing to look at. Because if we're looking for adoption in the future, I don't know.
Yeah,
Great.
why not?
Why not?
I think we should definitely, though, there should be a way to notify somebody by text if their application has some new high-risk vulnerabilities.
Yeah. I'll let you guys know how far I get next.
Okay, sounds good. All right, thank you all.
Cool.
Cool. Thanks.
Bye, everyone.
All right, bye.
Bye.